Okay, today I'm going to talk about creating a trig table. I usually start with my most common angles, 0, pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3, and pi over 2. Start with sine and cosine. Then it's rather simple. You count from 0 to 4, so I'll put a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you take the square root and divide by 2. Square root of 0 is 0, divided by 2 is 0. Square root of 1 is 1 divided by 2. Square root of 2 divided by 2. Square root of 3 divided by 2. And the square root of 4 is 2, and when you divide that by 2 you get a 1. Cosine just goes the other way. You start with a 1, then the radical 3 over 2 is next. Notice that pi over 4, sine and cosine have the same value. The 1/2 comes here, and then it started with a 0, this one ends with a 0. Tangent's rather easy as long as you know that it's sine over cosine. 0 over 1 is 0. I'll skip this. Anything divided by itself is 1 for pi over 4. Tangent of pi over 4 is 1. If you divide by 1/2, it's the same as multiplying by 2. So radical 3 over 2 times 2 is radical 3. And when you do 1 divided by 0, you get undefined, which sometimes might imply infinite. When you divide here, you're going to end up with radical 3 over 3. And now, once you do that, you have your table. I always tell my AP students the first thing they should do if they haven't memorized this when they go to take the exam is to write this down, create it. Then you know you're going to have to use it during the exam. These are the angles in the first quadrant, but we can use these to find the angles, find trig values of angles in any of the quadrants. For example, I drew a unit circle. Here's 0, 180 is pi, pi over 2, 1 1/2 pi, or 3/2 pi. And I mark the signs in each quadrant. To get in the first quadrant, it's positive x, positive y. Second quadrant, it's negative x and a positive y. Negative, negative in the third quadrant, and the fourth quadrant is positive, negative. All of these are alphabetical. It's always cosine, sine, cosine, sine on each of these. So if you know these, you can use it to find any of them. For example, let's find the cosine of 5 pi over 6. 5 pi over 6 is 5/6 pi, which is a little less than 1 pi. So I make my angle and find the reference angle to be pi over 6. Then I'm going to look up the cosine of pi over 6. Since I have my table, I'll look. Cosine pi over 6 is radical 3 over 2. Cosine pi over 6, radical 3 over 2. You're looking at the reference angle. So you have radical 3 over 2. However, in this quadrant, you have to check the positive, negative, the sign of the cosine in this case. Cosine in the second quadrant is negative. So you just found the cosine of 5 pi over 6. Another one might be 11 pi over 6. 11 pi over 6 is again a reference angle of pi over 6. This time I'm looking for the sine of this. So I look for the sine of the reference angle. Again, reference your table. The sine of pi over 6 is 1/2. So then I'll put a 1/2. However, in this quadrant, notice the sine of the sine, sometimes I say the SIGN of the SINE, is negative. I hope this helps, clarifies finding some trig values.